Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with Jay Unboxing here, giving you a few personal predictions for Friday's DAZN card, which is taking place in Manchester, New Hampshire. And as always, these are just my personal takes. Your predictions can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. So we have three fights that I'm really going to be looking at here, all title fights in their own respective rights, and we're going to be starting, of course, with the main event, which is going to pit middleweight titleist Demetrius Andrade against Jason Quigley. As mentioned, these fights are all taking place airing live on DAZN at the SNHU Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. And it's going to be a triple header, actually a quadruple header, but I will be looking at the three fights, as I mentioned, starting with the main event. That will be pitting, again, Andrade versus Quigley. I'll also be looking at MURODJON Akhmadaliev versus Jose Velasquez. I will also be calling MURODJON MJ, his nickname in the ring, as his name will be butchered if I don't call him that. But again, as mentioned, facing Jose Velasquez, it's in the junior featherweight division with the IBF and WBA titles currently possessed by MJ on the line. And I'll also be looking at Martinez defending his crown against McWILLIAMS Arroyo in the flyweight division. Now let's get started here with the main event. For Demetrius Andrade, his fights are always going to be based on his ability to gain control of the action and dictate the parameters of the contest. Andrade wants to make sure he's being smart, setting traps, and looking to land some smart shots on the inside, like the left uppercut as Quigley tries to come in and land his own power shots. Quigley has a tendency to fight tall, so another shot that can work for Andrade is the overhand shot, as Quigley is looking to throw out his jab. It's a shot that might have the best shot of hurting his foe. What Andrade doesn't want to do is rush any of his own work, especially early while Quigley is fresh and his most powerful. Quigley has a solid left hook, and that shot has troubled Andrade in the past, so it's something the American will want to avoid. For Jason Quigley, he's going to want to set the tempo, a tempo that looks to upset the rhythm and the pace of Andrade. He's going to want to make sure that he isn't allowing him to set, and he can do that with activity and attacking in a calculated way. Quigley doesn't just want to rush in, because that will allow Demetrius to counter all day, which is what he wants. Instead, jab quickly, use head movement, and then get inside and make it more of a fight. Still, there will be times Andrade likely looks to press, and that will mean Quigley will need to counter himself sometimes. It's going to be one of those back and forth fights, I feel. And that might lead to his best opportunity for success, that being Quigley, which will be that check left hook. Quigley has a decent one, and left hooks can work against his American foe. The area of concern for Quigley will be his stance, standing so upright against a fighter like Andrade that is tricky and can land his shots at unique angles, and that could mean the Irishman is caught a bit too often in this fight as it progresses. As it pertains to my pick, in short, I'm going with Andrade in this one. Quigley is not getting the credit he deserves for how decent a fighter he happens to be. Still, I don't see him climbing this particular mountain, barring him getting in one hell of a left hook or something I just don't see. In my mind, Andrade controls the action, comes out aggressively to do so early on. Quigley might land something to bother Andrade, but it will only serve to remind him to stay sharp. Using a jab and the overhand left to land on Quigley, Andrade will coast to a unanimous decision victory in a somewhat awkward at times fight. Andrade via unanimous decision. Next up, we have the aforementioned MJ, or Akhmadaliev as he is known by with his last name, defending his crowns against Jose Velasquez. So let's start with the champ. For MJ, he's a very solid mover and can both create and close distance very well, using solid footwork to do so. This obviously will put him both in offensively and defensively better positions. Offensively, it means he can strike when there are openings and use shots like the lead left hand to score from positions and places in the ring that his foe might not expect. This is due to how well he can cover ground. Defensively, the movement helps him to walk his man into shots, particularly the jab, as he will use it to keep his man where he wants him when he is backing up and his foe's looking to come in, because he has pretty fast-handed shots and that will be able to give him some success with just the jab alone. Where Akhmadaliev will want to be careful is taking shots to the body. Skilled or not, if he's slowed down via too much body work, a lot of his game plan is taken away because he isn't someone that's going to be as successful without movement, which body shots can definitely limit. For Velasquez, Velasquez isn't the fastest fighter in the world, and he doesn't seem to have concussive power, especially at junior featherweight, where he's actually fought a weight category below most of the time. So his game is going to have to be a long one. To start, that means he will need to have a body attack, especially against a mover. Stepping in with a solid jab to the body could start him off well, at least giving Akhmadaliev something to think about. If the jab allows him inside a bit more, working in a left hook or right uppercut in that phone booth makes a lot of sense, unless you're too young to know what the hell a phone booth is. But in any event, those close quarter shots can work for Velasquez as a means to slowing his man down and making it a more even fight, at least on paper. The area where Velasquez will have trouble is if he becomes a stationary target. If he allows himself to be dazzled by the movement and the exceptional skills of MJ as the fight progresses, he's going to get hit far too often, and he'll be in that defensive shell far too often. That will make for a long night for the Chilean. Now, as it turns to my pick here, it's hard for me to justify a win for the late replacement Velasquez. Literally hard to imagine a way it happens, he said, jinxing MJ. Still, jinxes aside, MJ is a very skilled fighter that will be hard to beat and hard for Velasquez to keep up with. He will look to attack the body and make it a fight, I believe, but the solid power and the incredible movement Akhmadaliev has will overwhelm him and will show more and more as the fight wears on. With counter left hands, the southpaw MJ will make Velasquez pay and bust him up, likely causing a late round stoppage via either referee or corner intervention. Something which would be a first for the Chilean if he were to lose by knockout, so it would be something of a statement for MJ if he can get that done. Akhmadaliev via late stoppage. Finally, we have a third world title fight with the WBC flyweight title, Martinez taking on McWILLIAMS Arroyo. Starting with the champion here for Martinez, he has some solid hand speed that's a little bit underappreciated sometimes, and he can close distance well once the fight gets going, but he does take some time to get going at first. That means he will want to measure his man, get his timing down and set up his shots. The quicker he can, the better, obviously. Once he's managed to gaze Arroyo, he can let loose with his flicking jab and powerful left hand. And that left hand will be the shot that gives him his best success or his best chance for it. He throws it almost as a hybrid straight left and left hook sometimes, and if he can find a home for it, his power can make a big difference in this contest. What Martinez will need to avoid is allowing Arroyo too much time to move around and make Martinez chase. While he can close distance at times, he can find himself chasing far too often and far too early if he allows Arroyo to get into a rhythm and kind of set the pace he's looking to set. For McWILLIAMS Arroyo, he's going to want to vary his game plan a bit, as oftentimes you find against bigger punchers, the easier you are to predict, the more likely it is you'll be caught by something, so you need to switch it up. At times, Arroyo will need to jab and step in, even push Martinez back and take some of the power away from the Mexican. Other times, he will need to strike and move, make Martinez chase and counter from the outside rather with the jab and the right hand. And that right hand will be key. If there's a single shot that seems to land well for Martinez's opponents, it would be a right hand thrown somewhat high as his opponent steps in. He doesn't want to stand and trade, however. That just makes Arroyo too easy to hit and predictable, as I mentioned, and he doesn't win a straight-up hitting contest against the heavier hitter. Instead, earn his respect, but make sure you're keeping him guessing as to what sort of fight you're fighting as the fight wears on. In terms of my pick, again, hard to go against the odds in this one. Martinez is on a roll as of late, beating solid opposition and doing so in style. Unbeaten since his pro debut where he did lose, Martinez with his power and engine has shown thus far to be a very tough fighter to beat. I think Arroyo keeps it interesting for the first few rounds, but around the fourth the power of Martinez will begin to show, possibly hurting him in the fifth or so with the left hand. It will only be a matter of time until Martinez finishes his man off. Martinez via mid-fight stoppage. Again, would be the first stoppage loss of Arroyo's career, so a statement could be made. Now, getting into the betting odds for these fights here, they're all pretty wide to be fair. You have Andrade at a minus 850 with Quigley at a plus 510 in their middleweight encounter. Not a very wise bet to bet on Andrade in this one. I think he wins, but there's just no money to be had there. Quigley, again, with all of these underdogs, there is a sense that you could potentially bet a small bet you're willing to lose just on an upset. You have three shots. If there's three fights where they're these wide of odds and you bet on all of them, there's kind of an argument you could make that maybe one of them will go right, and you could perhaps finagle yourself a little bit of money there. Same thing, for example, in the MJ versus Velasquez fight, where you have MJ coming in at a minus 5,000 versus Velasquez at a plus 1,600. I mean, anytime you see a title fight where someone is a plus 1,600 dog, there's a little bit of you that says, hey, just put 20 bucks on it. You know what I mean? In the worst case, you've spent 20 bucks in much dumber ways, I'm sure. In the Martinez versus Arroyo fight, you have Martinez a big favorite at a minus 1450 with Arroyo at a plus 770. Again, Arroyo is a solid fighter. It could entice you to lay one of those, hey, let's see what happened kind of bets. Not a huge deal of great money here, though, as it pertains to these particular straight-up odds. In any event, my prediction record heading into the weekend is 41-16-3 with 12 exact, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. We'd love to hear your thoughts, predictions, bets, so on and so forth. Do you have any upsets coming at all would be my biggest question here, because again, you got 3 prominent fights here. There's a chance it could happen. Would love to hear your thoughts about that in the comments below. Also, I'll be leaving a link to a story that I wrote on Terrence Crawford. You can go ahead and check that out by clicking the links in the description box. Love if you did that. Please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow at jcalderon_JOB, and you can email me at junboxing@gmail.com. Love to hear from you there. Also, be sure to check out junboxing.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, and more. And as always, until next time.